Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be reviewing Why Nations Fail, and I'm going to butcher the author's name, but it's by Daron Acemoglu and James A. Robinson. And so I actually have some pretty mixed feelings on this book, and I'm going to outline some of those feelings. And first of all, a lot of you are probably asking, well, with a book titled Why Nations Fail, that's a very ambitious kind of question to answer. And so what is the conclusion they come to? And they don't make it a secret what they believe the answer to that question is. They believe that the secret to success is whether or not a country has in inclusive political institutions versus extractive political institutions. And so, what they would mean by that is inclusive would look a lot like democracy and being able to have private property rights and incentives, while extractive would look like, there's some sort of dictatorial rule where, there's no incentive for people to work or grow or anything like that. And my main problem with that is that I feel like it's too simplistic of an answer. And honestly, I mean, if that's it's hard to answer that question. It really is, because I think that there are a number of factors. And honestly, I would not have been unhappy if the book had come away with that takeaway that there is no one easy answer as to why a nation is successful or unsuccessful. But they do try to kind of answer it. And I think that there are some real problems with what they come to. But I'm going to start with some of the good things I liked about this book. So I think it does a really good job tearing down some of the other explanations that people give as to whether or not nations are successful, specifically like stuff about climate. Like, people make the argument, in places that is warmer, people are like less motivated to work. They do a pretty good job of tearing that apart. Also, the culture argument, that is just like the culture of some place, the social culture of some places as to whether or not they're successful. They do a really good job of also highlighting where that just doesn't hold up when you look at specific examples. And then that's actually the next positive thing that I'm going to say about the book is that there are a ton of like historical case studies where they look at very specific examples to prove their point. And I mean, we're talking about from Rome to England to the Congo to China to Russia. Like, there's all sorts of different little case studies that they go through, and I found those to be really interesting. And I didn't always agree with the takeaway that they had with the case studies, but I think that I enjoyed reading about them. And then the next so my first real criticism is, I feel like a lot of times they would like isolate certain variables, and they would just be like, okay, this is why. Like, there was just too much ignoring of other things. Like, I feel like they really downplayed the effect that colonization, as well as just different geopolitical influences can have on a country. It was very internalized, their analysis. So they would look at like just the domestic government of a country and like how that determines the success. And I think that's just there's very little talk about like sanctions or just the impacts of different wars or things like that. And so, like, I feel like when you ignore stuff like that, I can't fully agree with the takeaway that you have. And then my next big criticism is like, so the whole book, once I realized that their argument is that inclusive versus extractive, that's like what makes or breaks a country, I was like, well, what do they have to say about China? Because I mean, I don't see how you could refer to the government of China as inclusive. It's very authoritarian and very quote unquote extractive. So I was interested what they were going to say, and they save it till the end. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. But basically, their takeaway from China is that under Mao, it was very extractive, but then under Deng Xiaoping is when it became more inclusive, and that is why it's been so successful. And basically, they've said that it's unsustainable. And now this book was written, I think, almost 10 years ago, I think. And I mean, China has done nothing but grow since then, and there has been a ton of economic development in China. I think that that's undeniable, and I feel like that's something that people have a lot of problems kind of coming to terms with, is that people have some very strong moralistic arguments that they make against China, but the China has without question been successful in terms of economics. And now there's so many things that you can critique about them, which is why I think it's important to not just look solely at the economic success of a country in determining whether or not that system is good. We have to look at more than that. This book is very much just looking at success in terms of variables like economic success. And I just don't think that that's what you should only look at. I will say this book gives a shout out to Lula, the former president of Brazil. Really enjoyed that. And overall, I mean, I did find their writing style to be very pleasant. I liked it was very neutral. This is not a hard left book. This is not a hard right book. It was very neutral, and I feel like these guys were really objective with what they were trying to do, which I really appreciated. I just disagree with their conclusion, but like, I mean, I think that it's a great book that you should definitely pick up, and just look at it, with skepticism, and come in with your, what look at it like you would at honestly how you should look at any book. Don't like take it like, oh, this is the answer, I'm going to figure out why nations fail. No, just but with all the historical examples they give, I don't see how this book could not be somewhat useful, and if nothing else, just helping you contextualize certain areas of the world and why they potentially might be where they are today. And so other than that, I really enjoyed this book. Definitely pick it up. And yeah, I hope if you guys disagreed with anything I said in this review, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.